should warn you too. My dog I have a Schnauzer,
I love
so very,
schnauzers.
very barky sometimes, and so he defends the house the best he can. So hopefully we're live here. So it looks like we're live and coming up on 1 o'clock just about. This is I would call this kind of our pre-show. So the lucky people get to see these few moments, and here we are, 1 o'clock. So,
These few moments.
yeah, 30 seconds of pre-show, and here we go. So welcome to the Red Feather Mind Body Spirit Facebook Live event. I'm Christopher McClure, and today we have two very special guests, Toni Puhle and Stephen Bright. Toni and Stephen are creators of the upcoming Rainbow Kipper, which is coming out this spring. But we couldn't wait to chat about the deck and what you both are up to. But first, a little background on you both for our audience. Toni Puhle was born in Sheffield. As a child, she would speak with spirit and learned at an early age how to share divination with those around her. Toni has studied and researched the traditional systems of Lenormand, Kipper, and Gypsy cards in England, France, and Germany. She lives a stone's throw away from Munich, and we talked about that town where you're at there too. So it sounds beautiful. Where the first Kipper deck was released, and it's not far from the roots of the Game of Hope in Nuremberg. I want to get back to that too, the Game of Hope. So her last 10 years have been devoted to the Kipper system and how this deck has been read in Bavaria. Toni is the founder of the World Divination Association, is a master teacher and reader, and is the author of Card Geek's Guide to Kipper Cards. I have that one. It's a great book. Toni lives with her husband, Jens, and two sons, Lloyd and Nate, in near Munich, Germany.
Yeah.
Stephen Bright was born in London. He is creator of The Spirit Within Tarot. He is also the author of Tarot, Your Personal Guide. Having always been a keen writer, Stephen has written for numerous periodicals and is co-founder of Esoterical Magazine. Stephen reads privately for clients in person, on Skype, and at public events. He has taught for 4 public beginners courses and mentors students individually. He can share his knowledge of tarot. He has also delivered presentations at the UK Tarot Conference, the Tabby Conference in Birmingham, the London Tarot Festival. You get all over, Stephen. Being interviewed for radio. Stephen lives in south of England with his family. So wonderful to have you both here. We were talking earlier on our pre-show. It just so happened between Monday when we did our little tech test and today we got a advanced sample copy of the beautiful Rainbow Kipper goodness that we'll talk about. Yay!
Can't wait.
I know. It's exciting. I feel guilty actually for having it. I'm sorry.
Me too.
No, I should feel guilty, right? So, so I'm so happy to have you both here. So I always kind of like to ask, get the ball rolling really with kind of like the stories. I love the stories. I love, how things kind of like, germinate and begin. So how did you both get into cartomancy? And I'm going to let, Toni start with this. What's your cartomancy journey?
My cartomancy journey started really young. I was one of those kids that was into everything. I was into spirit at a really, really young age, and my family actually allowed it and let my weirdness shine always. And to actually get into it seriously, though, it was after university and in my 20s when I was living in Newcastle. And I really then was into playing card cartomancy and tarot, of course, as well. Mm-hmm. And all forms of divination, pendulum, etc. Mm-hmm. And it grew from there. And every place I've moved then along the way, because I've moved to a lot of places along the way, mm-hmm. I've up the little nuances from there. From France, I lived in France a while, Germany now, obviously. So you pick up more as you go along.
So many layered. I love to we'll get into the differences between some of the systems in a little bit. So I don't want to get ahead of ourselves. Stephen, what's your tarot journey? What's your cartomancy journey, I should say?
Well, I think, very similar to Toni. I was aware of spirit when I was younger. I had quite strong clairaudience and clairvoyance, but I didn't really realize what it was that I had. And it was only that I got into cards when I was in my 20s. Mm. And just by chance, I went into a supermarket over here in the UK, and they had a whole lot of different kits of how to do this, how to do that. And one of them was tarot. And I just kind of picked it up, looked at it, put it in the trolley with the rest of the shop in. And then looked at it that evening when some friends came over for dinner, and it kind of just like lit something up. And And I think probably a couple of weeks later, I'd spoken to a few people about it, and they said, you've really got to go out and buy like your perfect deck, your deck. So I went to a shop in London and went and looked through all the samples, and it was the most magical experience. And that's where it started.
That's fascinating. It's interesting you mentioned going into a supermarket. I had another conversation with Kim Huggins and Nick Phillips last year, and I forget who it was. I think it was Kim. She said they stopped at like a petrol station or something, and there was a she got a deck there. So just the idea of having decks in supermarkets is kind of music. You wouldn't find that here, I should say. That's kind of fascinating too, to understand and to. But those magical experiences are so important and life changing, and I love the layered aspects of those stories. So fantastic.
I kind of wonder what would have happened if I hadn't have done that. If I hadn't have gone to the supermarket and bought that, what would I be doing?
I know. Yeah, it's life's twists and turns that way. What's that?
Working at the supermarket.
Yeah. The world will be a much duller place. So that's how things were going. So thank goodness they had that that stuff there. So how did you get together here, you two, and what inspired you to create the Rainbow Kipper? How did that germinate?
I think Stephen and I have been friends for a while on Facebook, obviously with the community anyway. And then we were both speaking at the Tabby conference. It was a couple of years ago now, wasn't it? Maybe 3 years, I'm not sure.
Yeah, probably.
And I was speaking on the Kipper cards, and I actually got people to lay a full 36 card spread for the first time ever with the Kipper cards. And Stephen and I were talking afterwards and talking about the Kipper system between us. And when two people who are really into something start talking, then we just went down this route of what could we make better? What could, all the added bits that would make a system juicy. And Stephen was also you were talking on the directional court cards. And it all kind of morphed in together, that directionality of the Kipper cards, the directionality of tarot. And we basically just had a nice weekend together at the Tabby conference.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we did. I mean, we clicked quite quickly, didn't we? On the first evening, we stayed up quite late chatting. And it's really strange because we'd gone to something which was predominantly about tarot, but you were teaching Kipper, and then I was talking about other ways of using the tarot cards in terms of, drawing on Lenormand and playing cards and that kind of thing. So it just kind of seemed we were in the right place at the right time, talking about the same kind of stuff. Also, Kathleen Matthews was there as well. So all three of us were very much, looking at different things other than tarot. And really, it was because I'd recently brought out Spirit Within, and one of the things that I did there was to color code the suits. And I said to Toni, I don't know if I said it right then or if it was afterwards we started talking about it. I said, maybe one of the ways you can get around these different kinds of cards within the Kipper deck is to color code them. What about if we had different colors for different kinds of cards? And that's kind of where it all started to grow.
Yeah. That's really great. I love how those things come together. And I think, Toni, actually the first time I was introduced to Kipper was through you, believe it or not. I didn't mention this before, but we had met at a reader studio a while back now, maybe 4 or 5 years. And you, when did your card, the Geek's Guide to
2007, 15, 2000? I don't know anymore.
2007. So yeah, that's about right. So it was a new system to me. We were just the Lenormand revolution was happening. I called it the Lenormand revolution. It's in full swing. And then it is this new thing, Kipper, and then of course Stephen. We published your Spirit Within, and just the marriage is so beautiful of the style and everything. And I think my personal feeling is that Kipper is the next normal, and it's the next revolution. I think really because as this is discovered. So really, can you explain like what differences maybe between the two, like Lenormand, which also 36 cards, Kipper? Like what are some of the differences between those two systems?
The main difference between the Lenormand and the Kipper decks are that the Lenormand are a symbolic deck, or an emblematic deck. So when you are reading with the Lenormand, it's very one symbol per card or one emblem per card, and you are growing the language based on that. When you read Kipper, you are laying situations. So if you think about a movie board or even a comic book, when you look at each portion of a comic book, you see a situation in there. And Kipper is similar. So it shows various situations of somebody's life, and then you bring them all together into a full. So it's not like reading tarot and being drawn into anything. It's really about seeing a situation and following it to its conclusion.
Mm-hmm. And both systems, Stephen, do you have anything to add as far as your understanding of the differences there?
I didn't hear that, sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry, Stephen, did you have anything to add as far as
only really so much in the fact that it's a very everyday system, and it draws on things that everybody experiences. As you say, it's not so symbolic as maybe the tarot. We have things in there that are like courts and thieves and illnesses and all the things that everybody can relate to.
Mm-hmm. Right. That's what I find. With both with Kipper, especially the situational aspects of it. I did a reading for myself, yesterday with it, and it was really pretty spot on. And just situationally and the directional aspects, of this. I love the fact that people, anyone can project themselves into these cards. You give a range of options for as far as having, for the main cards, you have like 2 for each gender, but they're very open-ended. It's very diverse too. So you have a variety of options here as far as how it flows. So what's really brilliant about this, I think, is just, with the colors. So tell me about the colors. What is that all about? Because these are color coded, and how does that flow specifically in relation to like maybe the Grand Tableau?
Well, I'll just say one thing about the extra gender cards we've got in there as well. The Kipper deck, the original Kipper deck, had 2 partners facing one another, and that was in the 1890s when it was first brought up. We're not doing a history lesson here, just
please, that's fine. A little bit.
The significance of this deck is that a same-sex partnership can look eye to eye, and we've not really seen that in a Kipper deck so far. We've not seen a published Kipper deck where the two can see eye to eye. And what's even more lovely about our deck is that if you are female, you can, it may not seem significant to males in the mix, but if you are female, you can also be the one that's facing forward. In the older Kipper deck, the woman, you always have to read right to left because you are a woman and you have to read right to left. So the unique thing about it is that we can also have our main story now. So it's not just a deck to empower same-sex relationships. It's also gender, a great thing for us ladies. But as far as the colors are concerned, for me, I'll let Stephen talk about that. But for me as a Kipper reader, when I lay a Grand Tableau, a Grosse Tafel, which is the 36 cards, to be able to pick out clusters of movement in a storyline, or to see where a querent is stalled in their life, that's priceless for me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and the same thing really. Just to add that we have green cards, which we would class as people cards. So you can see them in the reading. You can see the original Kipper that I'm used to, the old Kipper. A lot of the illustrations look very much the same, and there's a lot of them, and if you're using a grand tableau, then you're going to have 36 cards laid out on the table. A lot of the people look similar. Some of the scenarios are not so easy to understand or to work out yourself, especially if you're just beginning. So here, when you've got color-coded people, you can see them. You can see these pops of green around the grand tableau. If you've got pinks, which are like the connector cards, you know that the cards that are on either side of this pink card are being pulled together in some kind of way. We have, I don't know if we're going to talk about this, but we have kind of a lot of directional cues which are kind of put into the cards as well. So as an example, we have Toni, said to me, we do the gift card, and rather than just having a gift, because if this makes sense, the gift card, what's above it in the reading can be given down to what's going on underneath the card. I had two hands, so you can see literally that what's above in the card is being given to what's underneath, which is being received. So we've kind of included all of those in the most simplistic way that we can for all readers, not just for new readers. I think it's an asset for advanced seasoned readers as well.
No, that's brilliant. I think that just the as I mentioned, the directional aspect of this, between that, between the simplicity of the card, the images themselves, simple but effective. Then also too, as far as the color coding too, again, if you're laying these things out, you can see quite quickly, where spots, where trouble spots are, where the connectors are, how it flows. So just to kind of break it down, so you have your green is the people, it's not good, and your red is the stop cards, obviously. Blue is movement, and pink are connectors, and yellow is called an effect. So it's just very simple. Once you get that down, and I haven't memorized them all yet and gotten it all down on me, I'll admit, but it's kind of thing that from the beginning you can get it quickly, but then I think the more you use it, the more you'll get out of it, really. So it's something you'll be able to keep going back to, again and again. And this is really the kind of deck that I think that you'll be able to really form a relationship with. And I think that's one of the great things, about, all cartomancy in general is that relational aspect with the actual system. But the immediacy, of this is makes these so profound and useful too for everyone. So so as I said, as I've been playing with it since yesterday, it's been a lot of fun, and I know that there are going to be so many people that will really be able to, like I said, establish this relationship with this deck and get a lot out of it. So it's been fun. It's going to be fun for a long time, with this. So just so within this, cartomancy's changed a lot. You have these waves and things of the ups and downs and how things. How have you seen the cartomancy world change, and I guess metaphysics in general? Over since you've both kind of started your journeys. Within this realm, how things changed for just mind by spirit in general and cartomancy, you feel?
For me personally, there is a lot more community than we used to have before, and communities merging. Whereas we had pockets of communities, now everybody seems to be merging more into, the world's big enough for all of us. And we can all enjoy everybody's groups. We can all enjoy each other. But I also think the cross into systems has grown. So the tarot people are morphing into using Kipper on the side, Linneman on the side, so that they have their different layers of divination tool belt. And I think that in turn causes the merge in the communities as well. So I have been, obviously I've been into divination for a long time. We didn't have internet before I started, but it has, I do see a crossover more so now than what we used to have, and the forming of alliances and friendships between everybody in the community.
It's more accessible now. I mean, when I started back in the 90s, And I didn't have an internet connection either, so it was just I started with tarot, and it was me and a book and a notepad and a bed, and that was kind of where it all began. And in a way, I kind of miss that magic of being able to do that, But on the other hand, it's really great that people are exposed to so much information now. I mean, you can reach out like we are now and talk to different people and get advice and tips about things, So it's more of an everyday thing. I think people that might have thought it was all a little bit strange and crazy years ago now look towards Kippers and Lenormands and tarot as just being like an everyday tool, which can only be a good thing.
Exactly. Yeah, I know a lot of people who use they'll use tarot and then they'll layer a Lenormand or Kipper on top of that for different nuance or use them together in different situations and things. So it's just another tool in the toolkit for readers, which is great. So Toni, you mentioned alliances, and you have a pretty big alliance that you created with the World Divination Association. Could you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, I founded the World Divination Association a number of years ago now. I think it's about 7 years ago now. And it started as the World Linneman Association, actually, because I was teaching. And I had so many classes on it. And it was actually, I started it as a place for me to practice with people who wanted to learn Linneman and learn it with the original instructions, etc. So I started as that, and then obviously I wrote my book on Kipper, and it was like, well, what do I do here? Do I start World Kipper Association? And then it morphed into World Divination Association, and it really, really, really was just somewhere a therapy for me more than anything. I've worked as a reader for a number of years now, and it was more playtime. It started as, and building a community of friends and, like I say, alliances as well, where no matter where we are in the world, there's always at whatever time you go into one of our groups, there's always someone active. So if you are having a bad day and want to post some cards or get feedback from somebody, there's always someone available, and that was the whole point of it in the first place. And obviously we've grown from there. We have teachers now and other teachers other than me, and a home study platform, etc.
That's fantastic. And you put on the amazing Big Bang conference.
We had 4 conferences last year.
Well, yeah. That's fantastic. Yeah, I think it's funny. I feel last year, of course, was extreme challenges, but we're closer in some respects. As far as being able digitally to reach out to each other and things, and organizations like yours, and help to facilitate that support. And even though it's not the same as just you being with your tarot and a book and your notepad, as you say, Stephen, there is a certain magic within that.
I would say in the 2020 for the community online for the WDA, it has been the best year possible because we've all come really close together.
Right, right, exactly. And Stephen, with the Esoterical magazine, that's brilliant. I was thankful to be at the UK Tarot Conference when it was launched. A piece of tarot and divination history there was made. So how's that been going? What's that been like, that process?
It's been great, and it's wonderful to be able to. I mean, it's like Toni says, in a sense, it's work, but it's so much fun as well, because I'm spending lots of time talking to experienced, established tarot writers, tarot creators, and the same for oracles as well. But I'm also kind of reaching out to newer people who are coming into this community with such wonderful skills. I have a few copies here, of course. And somebody like Sophie McKay-Knight here. I really enjoy, and Kim and I really enjoyed choosing the covers for the Esoterical as well, and to find these wonderful new artists who are working with the cards. we have a section in the magazine which is called Go Follow. So, it's very much about people who are making their mark on the internet as well, because tarot has changed so much in the last 20 years, and now we have all these great accounts on Instagram and Facebook. So yeah, what more can I say, really? I mean, we started doing this because we thought there was a gap for it, especially in the UK. I mean, I know that the Cartomancy exists, but we just kind of wanted to pull in on the community, really, and share all of the wonderful skills and wisdom that's out there, and the creativity.
That's fantastic. And so bringing the community together in both both ways that you do is so vitally important. So beyond the creating what you have here, just you're giving back in both your own ways to the divination cartomancy communities. So which is just wonderful to see, and I think it inspires other creators to do the same thing, and collaborate and so forth. So in working together, the two of you, now I guess it was all remote. Was it all you had your meeting when you met together, but then this is all remote, wasn't it? When you're pulling it together, then was that tricky?
Well, that was fun, actually. I want to say one thing. Thank you, everybody who's commenting. I can see all your comments. You are all amazing. Thank you. Stephen and I met after we met. We had some calls, didn't we? We spent a few hours talking to one another, not always on the deck, but we eventually got round to the deck and getting through it. But we worked pretty well together because we ran through the Kipper deck, the original Kipper deck, together, and I said or explained what I loved in particular about the deck and the particularities that I have that I would like to keep. But Stephen and his eye for the details, every card that came back to me, he would say, "Is this all right?" And I was like, "Oh my God, it's awesome." So there wasn't really so much, "Oh, this needs changing" or anything like that. It was always, we spoke about it. He went away, came back, and just perfection each time.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
But because my Kipper understanding was much slimmer than Toni's, I think it was also quite helpful that I was looking at it through a different kind of eye. I was looking at it through the eye maybe of somebody who was stepping into Kipper. So I could kind of say, well, yeah, I kind of get that, but maybe it needs to be a little bit clearer here, or especially when we're talking about the whole system, because I think we both love systems, and I could look at it with a kind of a less experienced eye.
Absolutely.
And that's kind of where we came together in some places, wasn't it? Shall we change this because it's not quite as obvious, or do you think that people will get that?
Yeah, because I'd already been teaching Kipper for a while. So then when we came to talk about it, and sometimes I'm not clear either, because once you've been doing it for so long, you expect somebody to, see something different to what you're thinking. And Stephen always came back and said, but that actually doesn't make sense. He kept me in check on some things as well.
In a very nice way, Stephen's so incredibly cool. Or the way to come, is like, you may want to adjust in some fashion. Yeah, I wrote down here as far as the, it's helpful sometimes to have that I wrote down eye of innocence, or the intuitive eye, coming from a different perspective, to give that different aspect to things. And something about the, again, with the reading I did yesterday for this, I mean, there's like, this is the house, I put, so there's something that's, it's simple, but it's timeless, and it just makes you dive into the image. There's more going on there. It touches something off. I mean, it touches something off the way that it kind of like, I can't quite explain it. I guess we're getting into the metaphysical realm here, maybe, but it does, and I think that's the magic of the images, and the combination, and the writing is beautiful too. To go along with these, cards. So
if you could share some of the card images. Can you do that?
Of course, yeah. No, I was going to share a whole. We'll do a look through. So here, I'll start from the beginning. So let me put it back together, and I'll do like a reveal.
Yeah.
So here's our reveal. So as I mentioned, our advance came in just yesterday, so it's going to pop. So here's our Rainbow Kipper. Here it's a beautiful style, and has a magnetic enclosure here. This pops open. And
Yay.
nice, beautiful, bright book. And it's a 4-color book. So the color, I'll go before I get to the meat of it. I'll get to the. I'll say the cards for next. But the book is 4-color. Here we have.
And it also speaks about the directionality of the cards as well.
Indeed.
So it's not just a meanings book. It also speaks about the system.
Oh, it does very, very, very well. In fact, too, just how the directional aspect of things of that nature as well. I love in here with the quote you have in here. Within each of you lies a Kipper card reader waiting to explore, dig deep, and uncover hidden scenarios within the webs of time that didn't know existed. Poetic. Beautiful. So beautiful book, and so bring out box has beautiful, nice touches to it. They're well contained. They're solid in there, and so here are our cards.
Is this torturous to you, Stephen? Because it is to me.
I know you buttons left.
Yeah, I mean it looks lovely. I love the silver edges.
Yeah. So we have that. It's a nice, solid card stock as well. Back, see, that's our back of our card. Okay, so we have. I've always shuffled them, so not in order. But so as I mentioned, but so here's some of our images here. If we can see that. That's our
illness.
Illness. There's our house, as I mentioned there. But what's the other?
You see the red of the stock cards. The great thing that Stephen did about that was that there's a depth to the color as well. So the prison card, for example, had a really deep red in there that really shows it as that major stock card.
Right. So you have the vibrant nature of them, and you have the more muted, depending on the.
Yeah. Actually 2 cards with full color on, and I would be interested if anyone in the comments could tell us what they are. We chose 2 cards to have the full rainbow color on there. So if you can guess what that is, I'd be very interested in the comments.
Wow, that'd be a true good
true Kipper knowledge.
Your true Kipper knowledge. Testing your true Kipper knowledge. That's what we're doing here. So I love this one here. It's our
way.
A long way. So, here we are. Here's the one you mentioned, Stephen, the gift. Where it's coming down.
Yeah. So you can imagine there that if you're in a grand tableau and that's somewhere in the middle, that what's above is being gifted to the card below. So it kind of creates like a bridge.
Indeed, exactly.
Marlene has one of them. Well done. And Rita has the other one. And Steffi has both. Well done.
Oh, so we got the winner. We have. That's wonderful. Congratulations on congratulations on your Kipper knowledge.
Absolutely, Garth. Yes.
So,
and great fortune. No, it's good outcome in love and great fortune. Or did we do hope great what? I can't remember now. I'm only kidding. I do know.
So now I'm trying to look through to find those there.
Great.
I found one. So here's good outcome. There we are. So there's one of them. Beautiful. Yep. So yeah, and just talking about Kipper, and there if you even look up Kipper decks, there aren't a lot. There are some out there, but there aren't a lot really. I mean, yes, some traditional decks and things like that. And for something like this to come along, and just really, I think I think this will be the Kipper deck going forward. This was help to define Kipper, and what's that?
It has to be.
It has to be. It has to be right. It just will. There's no two ways about it, right? that is what will happen. So So yeah, so that's our little walkthrough, our brief walkthrough of the of this. But yeah, it's an exciting deck, and I can't wait to play with it some more. I will do so when we're done. Sure. And yeah, we have a lot of people here on the Facebook Live with their comments and so forth. So it's wonderful to see too. So yeah, so I guess what's really next for both of you? What lies ahead for the both of you? What's coming up next for you both?
This seems to be we did have, like I say, lots of conferences last year. It seems this year to be following on the same. I haven't arranged any personally, but we I know I'm at 5 this year speaking.
Wow.
So I have books in the background that I need to finish. I have a Linneman book, a Kipper book, and a Gypsy book.
Mm-hmm.
The background, and yeah, not much time for anything else. What about you, Stephen?
Well, this year obviously we have the Kipper coming out. I've got another book with Liminal 11, which will be released at the end of the year, which is all about, it's called The Oracle Creator, and it's all about creating your own oracle. So it's looking at ways that you can do that, drawing on people in the industry who have done this already in so many different ways, and talking to them and showing examples, and then kind of going into the whole publishing side of things. So anybody who wants to get into making a deck, whether it's for pleasure or it's for professionally, it's kind of like hopefully the Bible for people to read. And I think I have 3 other writing projects I need to step on with, and the esoterical, and some conferences as well. So yeah, I haven't.
Is that all?
Not much free time, no.
Right, yeah. So you're quite busy and in demand, obviously, understandably so, too. Yeah. So my goodness, well, I like to have a section here where we talk about, answer some questions. If there are any questions here, we have a lot of comments. I think it's maybe the most comments we've ever had. On,
Thank you, everybody.
A lot of hellos and fantastic. Getting a lot of love here. For this.
I did see one comment actually from Michelle. It whizzed past about
about the
yeah, it was about advertising, and yeah, we're always open for advertising. So if you want to drop me a line, or I'll write to you and pass on some links or something. Can't remember what else. Oh, somebody else asked, are the cards matte or glossy? The Kipper cards.
Oh, they're matte. It's a matte actually. Yeah, so it's a really good feel to them. I think we're on a 350 maybe GSM, so nice 30. And yeah, they're designed to hold up well. Multiple uses, multiple usings, multiple readings. That's why we try and put as much as we can into this. And
what directions they were? They are 1890s directions, so the original Kipper directions.
There was a point in reading about the germination of Kipper. Now we're going into Kipper history now a little bit. So why are there? So what was the state of the time period that the Kipper kind of manifested, and how did it change how it manifested?
Once I get talking about the Kipper cards, that we'll half an hour or so. But the thing that I find so exciting about the Kipper cards is that they were born at a time when Germany, or in Germany, Bavaria, as it is, the French decks were shunned. Because it came shortly after the French-German War, the French-Prussian War. The gypsy cards were shunned because they weren't acceptable in polite society, and it was born in a time when you weren't allowed, or not, it was prosecuted to actually fortune tell, be a fortune teller. So at the time, I have a book from around that time as well that was teaching ladies in particular how to fortune tell using patience cards. And it was so you could hide your fortune telling under a game of solitaire. So and Kipper came into that. So that was the society at the time. Kipper came into that, born at a time when a French symbols were not allowed in polite society. A time when, like I say, the gypsy, also a very, the area in which we live in is super conservative. And tarot cards were shunned as well. So a deck was needed that looks like it's not a fortune telling deck, that doesn't have any symbols in that could trigger anybody, and also could not get you prosecuted. And that's how Kipper came to the table.
Fascinating. That's quite interesting. So that reminds me, I wanted to ask you about the Game of Hope. Is there a relation there too? And
the Game of Hope is obviously in Nuremberg, which it also isn't far from here. The Game of Hope was the game that was produced in the first version was 1799, I believe. So way before Kipper came along. So the Game of Hope was the first board game that we now say became the fortune-telling game. And in the instructions from the 1799 Game of Hope is where we see about laying a GT.
Interesting. Wow. That's amazing. That I love those little nuances. Art history is always fascinating.
Well, most of the Lenormand comes from France, obviously, with the Mademoiselle Lenormand name and link. And that's why it was shunned, because it had that name with it. So it was great as a marketing thing in 1799 and 1840, when Lenormand then was Lenormand and not Game of Hope. But then by the time Kipper come along, it wasn't a great deck to have in society.
That's fantastic. And here we are now. All these been now. It's having new life. New life has been breathed into this system by you both, and thank goodness for it. So I have some comments over here that so many people are looking forward to it coming out. I had someone who said that they were holding out on Kipper until this now. So that is great to see. I think that reinforces the knowledge of this. I think will be the go-to Kipper deck for many people.
And they can pre-order it.
Yes, they can pre-order it. redfeatherenbs.com. Wherever decks are sold, it can be pre-ordered, and we're good on timing for that as well. So I wanted to make sure that that your followers can reach out to you. So are you both on social media? How can people get in touch with you both?
I'm at The Card Geek. You'll find me on any social media platform with that tag.
And on Instagram, I'm at Stephen Bright UK. I'm on Facebook as well, but I can't quite remember what I'm called there. I think if you type in Stephen Bright Tarot or something like that, you'll find me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fantastic. And for those of you who don't follow both of them, Stephen, I love your posts, on Instagram and everything. They're just so artistically done. And Toni, everything that you're doing out there is amazing in your promotion of just cartomancy in general. I think you're both leaders, in this world, and really helping to bring it more and more acceptance too. And I think this is the perfect manifestation of that acceptance here, in the Rainbow Kipper. So I'm just honored that you published here with us, and we have a chance to put it out to the world and really give the world something that's going to be really, I think, life-changing for a lot of people. So, yeah. Okay, well, I think that'll do it for today. Thank you to Toni Puhle and Stephen Bright, and thanks to everyone who tuned in to our live event. It was wonderful. These are always wonderful. It's so much. I've learned so much, today. Rainbow Kipper, as I mentioned, is available for pre-order wherever Mind, Body, Spirit items are sold, redfeatherenbs.com, all over. So just go out and pre-order wherever you can. Thanks to everyone who was able to make it. Thanks to you both. And I hope everyone has a beautiful day.
Thank you.
Thank you.